What's going on, guys? It's Necro Ninja here, and today I'm going to teach you how to do the new and improved Crota's End that was just brought back to D2. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn those notifications on so you don't miss out on any of my other upcoming guides, such as how to get the red border chest and where the secret chests are in this raid, which I will not be going over in this video. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. If you've done Crota's End in D1, right when you spawn in, you'll notice something very different. In front of you, you'll see the Chalice of Light. This is going to be the main mechanic throughout the entire raid. Picking this up will start spawning's Thrall. When you pick up the Chalice, we'll have everyone move to the plate in front of the bridge and stand on it. This will begin building the bridge. When you are holding the Chalice of Light, you'll notice a bar filling up in your buffs and debuffs section. You'll want to fill that bar up. When the chalice is full, you'll get a debuff called Engulfed in Light with a timer of 7 seconds. If that timer hits 0, you'll die. To make sure that doesn't happen, have one of your teammates take the chalice off of you before the timer hits 0. When a teammate removes the full chalice from you, you'll have a buff called Enlightened. If they take it before the chalice is full, you will not get the Enlightenment buff. While standing on the plate, you can feed the Enlightened buff into the plate to make the bridge build faster. Note, this is very important. You cannot grab the chalice again while you have Enlightened buff. After you have your Enlightenment buff, you'll get a debuff called Drained of Light. While you have this debuff, you also can't grab the chalice. Once the bridge is formed, go ahead and jump on down into the Hellmouth. This is the Stills, your first actual encounter. The main goal is to make your way from the starting plate all the way to the end plate by navigating your way via the lamps. When you land, you'll see the chalice in front of you. Picking this up will begin the encounter and start a wipe timer called Engulfed in Darkness. The chalice acts exactly like it did when you were building the bridge. Fill the meter up, pass the chalice off, get enlightened. You'll notice as you're moving through the darkness, you'll be gaining weight of darkness. The more stacks you have, the slower you will move. This is where the lamps and the Enlightened buff come into play. You'll need one person with Enlightened to activate the lamp. When the lamp is on, standing near it will begin to remove the stacks of weight of darkness. But be careful not to stand near the lamp for too long, because after a while it will glow yellow and explode, killing everyone near it. Enlightening the lamps also extends your Engulfed in Darkness timer, giving you more time to make it through the maze. Some of the lamps will have a small podium near it. You'll need to dunk the chalice into the podium to preserve it. Doing so will awaken the next set of lamps on your path. After you've dunked the chalice, make sure to reacquire it before moving on. These preserved spots are random throughout the encounter, so make sure you're keeping an eye out for them. Remember, you can't take the chalice if you have Enlightenment buff or the Drained of Light debuff. So it's very important that you decide on an order of who is taking the chalice from who before you begin. Also, communication here is key. I like to have a safe word that I can call out when my chalice is full, so whoever is taking from me knows without a doubt that I want them to take the chalice. Because if they take it too early, you won't get the Enlightenment buff. My team uses the word pineapple. Make your way to each lamp until you reach the very end, where there's an unbuilt bridge and a big plate. Everyone will stand on the plate, and just like up top with the other bridge, you'll pass the chalice around, gaining Enlightened and feeding it into the plate until the bridge is complete. There'll be a lot of enemies coming at you, including a few unstoppable ogres, so make sure you have something to handle them. Once the bridge is built, run across into the light and move on to the next encounter. This is the bridge encounter. The goal is to get everyone across the bridge and kill 10 special enemies called gatekeepers. Simple enough, right? Right off the bat, you'll notice 3 plates and our best friend, the Chalice of Light. On the other side of the map, there are 3 more identical plates in a familiar preserve location. We'll come back to that. Just like before, you'll need to grab the chalice and get enlightened by trading it off when it's full. Standing on the center plate is what builds the bridge. Stepping off the plate will deconstruct the bridge. Whenever someone is standing on the center plate, at least one person needs to be on each of the other totem plates. If you are on the center plate and someone is not on a totem plate, it will glow red and wipe the team. You do not need to be on a totem plate if no one is on the center plate. Note, that there will be a lot of barrier champions in this encounter. The first few people who get enlightened will feed that into the center plate to build the bridge. You'll start noticing special enemies called sword bearers. When a sword bearer dies, it drops a sword. You won't be able to pick up the sword unless you have enlightened. Once the bridge is complete, the only way to cross it is to either be carrying a sword or carrying the chalice. When a person crosses the bridge, a gatekeeper will spawn with a few extra adds. You'll need to kill the gatekeeper with the sword. After it dies, you'll then need to deposit the sword into one of the marked locations. Here's how I recommend getting everyone across. After you've built the bridge, begin passing the chalice around, getting 5 people enlightened. Have one person grab a sword and then send the sword holder and the chalice holder across the bridge together. Have the chalice holder then dunk the chalice into the preserve location and then help clear the adds while the sword holder deals with the gatekeeper. One by one, start sending your other teammates across the bridge with a sword. Once you have 3 people on the other side, they can then hold the 3 plates over there and keep the bridge built as you send the remaining 3 over with swords. After you get everyone across and have deposited 5 swords, you'll need to grab the chalice again and begin getting people enlightened again. After getting 3 to 5 people enlightened, put the chalice back in the holder. 5 more gatekeepers will spawn, and you'll need to grab the swords you just deposited to deal with them. After they are dead, the encounter's over. Get your loot. Right after the second encounter is a mini encounter that I like to call the Shrieker Hallway. This mini encounter is super simple. There are 2 large green barriers blocking your path. Behind each barrier is a Shrieker. To pass through the barrier, you'll need the enlightened buff. Grab the chalice and get one person enlightened. They will run through the barrier and kill the Shrieker as fast as possible. Once it's dead, the barrier will drop and the team can move forward. Get another person enlightened and do the same for the next barrier. Once the team makes it past the next barrier, have the chalice holder dunk the chalice into the preserve spot at the end to open up the pit. Jump down the pit and prepare for the first boss. Alright, this is the Deathsinger, our first boss fight. So there are 7 rooms that we need to be aware of in this encounter, each one blocked off with that same green barrier as in the Shrieker Hallway. And just like those barriers, you will need to be enlightened to pass through them. The goal is to locate the wizards in these rooms, kill them to remove Uryut's shield. Now before I continue, I went and made a map and labeled each room so you have a reference for callouts. Feel free to screenshot this, save this for later if you'd like. It doesn't matter what callouts you use here, what matters is that everyone is on the same page. So just make sure everyone is aware of what callouts are being used. At the start of the encounter, you'll want to split the team 3 and 3. Have 3 go left and have 3 go right. You'll need to clear out all the adds, especially the yellow bar knights. Then move into the crystal room where there will be a barrier blocking the crystal. Kill the shriekers and the barrier will disappear. There you will find our one true love, the Chalice of Light. Guess what we'll need to do? That's right, get enlightened. As I mentioned before, there are 7 rooms. Some of these rooms have shriekers and some have wizards. The first DPS phase, you'll need to find 3 wizards to break her shield. After each DPS phase, the number of wizards increased by 1, which enrages after 3 DPS phases. To locate the wizards, I highly recommend someone running Wish Ender for its exotic ability to see enemies through walls. If no one has Wish Ender, the next best way is to get close to the rooms and keep an eye out for the big red circles on the minimap. These circles indicate that a Shrieker is there and you don't need to go into that room. While someone is looking for the wizards, the rest of the team should be working on getting 3 people enlightened. These 3 will be the ones killing the wizards. Once you locate the wizards, send 1 enlightenment person to each room, get the wizards down to about finisher range, and once everyone is ready, kill all the wizards at the same time. The last person to grab the chalice can go place it into the preserve spot that you all ran past at the beginning. Once the wizards are dead, Uryut's shield will drop, and a third of her health will change to a light yellow. There will also be a 45-second timer called Dark Liturgy. You'll need to deal a third of her health before the time runs out, or you'll wipe. Don't worry, she's actually pretty squishy. I recommend having a well or 2 and someone running Divinity because she moves around a lot very wildly. You'll pretty reliably be able to score a one phase, or at least come very close to one if your team is using Sleeper or any really good linear for that matter. If you don't outright kill her, just rinse and repeat, but remember there will be an extra wizard this time, so you'll need to get 4 people enlightened. Once she's dead, collect your loot and get ready for the man of the hour. Alright, it's time for the big man himself, Crota. Currently the meta for Crota is swords, so grab a lament or your favorite sword and let's get to business. All the way through the raid up until now, you were able to pass the chalice to each other freely. But now that you're in the presence of Crota, that's not the case anymore. The entire time you're in this arena, you'll have a debuff called Presence of Crota. You can't take the chalice from your friends with this debuff, but lucky for you, there are modes of light that appear around the arena that you can stand in and will remove the debuff while you're in it. We'll want to be getting a few people enlightened by passing the full chalice off to a teammate inside these light modes. You'll need to use this enlightenment to grab swords dropped by the sword bearers that spawn. To get these sword bearers to spawn, you'll need to kill the 4 boomer knights in the towers, 2 on the top right, 2 on the top left. After they die, 2 ogres will spawn out of the puddles in the pit, and a sword bearer knight will spawn out of the door behind them. Several waves of wizards will also spawn and try to mess you up, so be careful. You'll need these special hive swords to break Crota's shield. It's possible to break his shield using 2 swords, but I would recommend using 3 to be on the safe side. Once you have your 3 swords, you'll need to make sure you have 1 more person who is enlightened. They're going to be in charge of breaking the oversoul. Once you are ready, go ahead and have your sword bearers bring Crota's shield down. Tractor cannon works very well here. Once the shield is down, the oversoul will activate and you have a short window to do some damage. So it's time to go to work and do as much DPS as you can. When the oversoul timer gets down to about 3 seconds, have your enlightenment member break it and stop the fight. Usually about 2 fusion rifle shots does the trick. From here, you'll rinse and repeat till you get him to final stand. Make sure that before you put him into final stand, you have at least 1 person with enlightened to break the oversoul to extend the final stand DPS. If you feel like you need even more time, then get an extra person enlightened because you can break the oversoul twice during final stand. And there we go. You've officially killed Crota and completed Crota's End. Don't forget to grab your free red border from the sword and pick up the Necrochasm quest. Alright peeps, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.